I have it on good authority that one of, if not the main purpose for me personally to fulfill in this particular meat suit is to perpetuate interdependence. I feel strongly that as a species we were designed to be interdependent, and that if that were not the case, we would each be born with the entire skill set necessary for survival, but we're not. We're not all farmers, we're not all seamstress, we're not all musicians, we're not all carpenters, we're not all electricians. And I've found it to be consistently true that together we are more than the sum of our parts when we actually put our higher self forward. And because together we could be a big old group of fucktards if we're just focusing on who has the newest Jordans and who beds the new hot chick, or all those things that don't matter. I feel that we should strive to live in a more cooperative manner. I'm not bashing competition at all. Competition is wonderful, healthy. It's a very absolutely wonderful part of our existence. Competition is something that actually brings us closer, as often as not. But I feel that this competitive way of living that we've evolved into is very actually detrimental to our evolution, because we are not we're not seeming to be aware quite yet that we live in a limitless universe, and that we can all live in abundance without taking from each other, and that to compete in the right time and place is exactly what should happen. But if we would work together for the greater good of the whole, at the risk of sounding cliche, we wouldn't all be suffering and doing without. How many times have you really needed just that one little thing, whatever it was, be it a meal or a ride or, fucking dollar, word of encouragement, somewhere to crash. And how many people have had that exact thing that you needed the most and thrown it in the garbage because it was no longer of use to them and they didn't know what to do with it? I feel that we are not utilizing our resources in a way that's efficient, on many levels in our existence. And I think that this whole disconnect that is absolutely an illusion. This disconnect doesn't really exist, or however you would say that, to where it doesn't turn into a mind fuck. But we're so many lifetimes deep into this well-intentioned, misguided fucking way of doing things, this habitual inauthenticity. I've been saying for probably about going on 2 years now, when people apologize for, like, I run into you and you say, "I'm sorry" to me, my response in situations like that, and, situations different than that, is always, this is the year to not apologize for shit we ought not be sorry for. Last year was that year too, but I didn't have a chance to tell everybody yet, so it spilled over. And it's something silly that I say, but those that get the long version of that story realize it's not just a silly little catchphrase. It's actually something that I've put a lot of thought into. This whole I'm sorry that we say in all these situations where it's not really a situation that merits any kind of sorrow or fault or guilt, or no wrongdoing has transpired, but it's just something that we say constantly, a billion times a day. If you can't, I'm gonna actually try to remember to do that, make tally marks as I go through my day in the next day or two. And every time somebody says I'm sorry, including myself, little tally mark, because we really, really overuse that word in situations where we have nothing to be sorry for. And it's just because we're taught that that's what we're supposed to say, and that in so many situations that's the polite thing to do when we accidentally get in somebody's way, or we, you know, you don't need me to run down the billion scenarios that we overuse that word in. You know, it's like I think it's even more overused in the wrong ways and the wrong times than I love you. But I love you, that's a whole nother thing, because in the English language specifically, we only have that one word that describes so many types of emotions. You know, the whole fucking spectrum of fondness. You know, you can love a t-shirt, you can love a song, you can love a child, you can love your creator, you can love a color, you know, you can love a meal. But then, you know, no wonder we're so confused in our relationships, because we have so many expectations attached to that one little phrase, and those 3 words, you could say them to a person, and just that little act of expressing some type of emotional fondness for a person changes everything, because they take all your intentions and they attach their own issues and their own baggage and their own past relationship insecurities and everything that is good about a connection that you share with a person. Just takes on this implied, almost inevitable disappointment to come, you know, because we have all these expectations. And, you know, I think that if you make a commitment, you absolutely honor that commitment, you know. But prior to the relationship that I'm currently in, I went a good little stretch of, you know, probably damn near half a decade single, and I had really reached a point in my life to where I was quite content with that. I wasn't suffering from the perception of any imaginary or otherwise void. I didn't have this need to fill an emptiness with another person. I felt confident, and I felt happy, and I felt complete, and I didn't feel lonely. I felt fulfilled. And I actually had taken to saying that the longer I live and the more that I see, the less I'm convinced we're built for monogamy, because how much misery arises from one person wondering what another is doing with their genitals, and ultimately, what does it really fucking matter? You know, Teal Scott, or Teal Swan now, she imparted many wise words on me, and, you know, anyone who chooses to take her on as one of their YouTube gurus, Wayne Dyer is my absolute favorite. Teal, she's up there. But, you know, one thing that she said that was profound, and I've used it a blue million times since I heard it, was that the universe can't tell the difference between what you want and what you don't want. It simply manifests whichever you focus on. And that kind of lent a deeper understanding of the whole concept of law of attraction, because, you know, we don't get what we want, we get what we are, and we are what we think, because every thought triggers an emotion, and every emotion is a very powerful tool for manifestation. We accept exactly the amount of love that we feel we deserve, and we are just exactly as powerless as we fear ourselves to be. And the solar eclipse, this total solar eclipse that passed just, you know, recently, I spent it with Pops and his friends, well, my friends, but they became my friends that day. Prior to that, they were just strangers. But Pug and his daughter Millie, who was a badass, absolutely. Nan and Buddy, and they were just a really wonderful group of people. And thank goodness Nan was there to take care of us, because none of us were in any shape for adulting. But on that trip in the woods at Sayers Creek in Clayton, Georgia, I think it was, which, you know, was just one more tally mark in the synchronicity column, because shortly after that, Sarah Morrison, a very dear and special, wonderful friend of mine, someone that has made such a profound impact on my life in the very small amount of time that I knew her, that, you know, just I'm forever changed, and it seems to be that everybody that has ever connected with her is forever changed. But I forgot where I was going with that. I'll remember when I rewatch the video. But oh yes, I learned, with the help of, you know, the right circumstances and energies and environment and, you know, hallucinogens, I learned how to actualize the concept that, you know, it's a concept that I've been familiar with for many moons, but I've known for so long that there's a journey between knowing something and living it. And you know, the whole Buddhist Zen thing that evokes a new agey taboo response from, you know, a lot of people, and makes me sound like an idiot because I'm really not educated enough on any one particular religion. But taught us, you know, if we chose to listen, that every moment you have to go on dying to every moment. You cannot harbor, or you should not, you ought not harbor attachment to the outcome of anything. And though being familiar with it as a concept for, you know, probably more than a decade, to actually sit there by that creek, or in that creek at some point, several points, digging that mica up, the whole sparkly campground was beautiful. But I learned to actually watch the moments die, each moment, and kept telling everybody to sit down and watch The Woods Be Woods. They're really good at it. But that one moment of realization, of deeper realization, it's like, you know, when you're a little kid and you learn a circle, and then you get a little bit older and you learn a sphere. The sphere does not disprove the circle, it just is another dimension. It just adds another dimension to your understanding of it. But so as I sat there in the woods, watching The Woods Be Woods with the spiders, I learned how to see spiders too in the trees. Millie taught me. But I left all my fear in the woods with those spiders, because I know how to watch the moments die now. Again, I digress. I digress constantly. Surely you jest. I rarely digress. At this, we both laughed really, really hard, knowing that I am the wild card. But I learned so much from Sarah. It's just really hard to lose people, you know. And her death affected me probably more than so many that were closer to me that should have, you know. I've lost, just in the last couple years, I've lost an ex-boyfriend, an aunt and uncle in the same week. So many people. And Sarah was somebody that I met on Facebook and knew in the virtual. I knew her in the interweb for, you know, just right at a little bit over 2 years, and of that 2 years, about a year ago, she came and she spent 1 week with me, and me, her, and Blake Morrison. You know, he just hung out for the first night, or yeah, first night or two or something, and then it was me and her after that. But she was just absolutely everything that she was supposed to be. She's this beautiful, wonderful, loyal, fierce, just attentive. She's a warrior, man, and she put her sights on you, and you were hers, and she would protect you with all that she had, and she knew things that she had no rational, logical, third dimension, you know, thinking type way of knowing. And it's funny that I got to introduce Sarah Morrison to Blake Morrison, you know, who they turned out to be, I guess, twin flames, you know. She always could feel him fucking up, even long before she ever had her first conversation with him. That's actually the first conversation that her and I had that made me aware of the depth of things, and it just really, it's just really amazing. Life, you know, and death. But at the same time that her death really, really fucking shook me, I was, from the very moment that Kelly, her best friend, who I already adore because I just do, but since, from the very moment that Kelly, you know, hipped me to the fact that things were amiss, I was fucking rocked. And at the same time, there was a big part of me that was at ease, because it just felt more like a transformation than a loss. You know, I felt like I didn't really lose her. I just lost the ability to call her up and have a conversation with her, you know, hear her voice in my ear. I'm sure I'll still hear her plenty in my head, just like I do my dad. But I don't know where I was going to begin with, but I don't mind where I ended up. I love you, Sarah, and I miss you, and I'm really thankful that I got to know you a little bit. I mean, a lot of it, but a lot of it in a little bit of time. And you were just beautiful inside and out, and my world is a better place just because you got to be because you were a part of it, because I got to have you being a part of it. And you left behind this fucking sock. I started making this vase for her because she's Wonder Woman. I started making it when she was here about a year ago or whatever, and then I haven't finished it yet. I'm gonna finish it, and I'm gonna take it to Texas and leave it with Kelly and Doc, and I don't know how they'll share custody of it, but she left behind this one flippin' sock. And if the light were on, you could see how really, like, obnoxiously bright the sock is. I didn't have a sock on my hand. I could put it on. But she left behind the sock, and I don't know how I've kept up with the sock, because I haven't seen my car key in about 3 months. But I saw the sock a year later, and I'm very glad. And I'm going to make a sock puppet out of it. I wonder if Doc has the other one. But, anyway, where was I at? Music, blah, 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 blah. Love. Synchronicity some more.